one of the fun things about doing this podcast is that we get to talk to people and meet them for the very first time.
This is Auto Collabs.
When they drop into the Zoom call, and we can sometimes just do very little homework. So obviously I jumped to LinkedIn and I said, like, okay, who is Sarah Carter? Who is Sarah Carter? What does she do? And I find out all of a sudden that there are a lot of shared people that you follow. And then you get a sense for the person, and how they, at least the trajectory by which they approach the world. And so that was kind of where I started this. And then when we, start the conversation and get into it, we just had a whole lot of fun talking about things that had nothing to do with automotive.
Absolutely. One of the things, I did the LinkedIn scoop thing as well. And one of the things that I think is really interesting and I hope we get into is the fact that Sarah, who's coming on and hanging out with us today, started at a company like Auto by Tel, which, if you know Auto by Tel, like at least current day, it's kind of one of those third-party lead providers that, I don't want to say too much about, but that's kind of the attitude. And then you go all the way to like an Upstart, which is like working with only the most progressive, dialed-in dealers in a digital and showroom perspective. So for someone to span a 20-year engagement with auto, there's got to be just a wide swath of learning and understanding the industry. And I love that about so many people in auto. They just there's so many touch points you have across the industry. Like rarely do you find someone that's like 20 years hard with the one person,
Sending faxes.
Still.
You know what I'm thinking about? To your point about meeting people for the first time, you remember that month that we were like all in on the metaverse in the industry? And
it was a good month.
The thought has crossed my mind. Have any of us met this person? No. Okay. I'm considering coming to these calls where we're meeting somebody for the first time dressed like a banana, because I want to prepare people for what the metaverse is going to be like. Where we're having conversations sitting across a desk, like we're buying fake real estate sitting across the desk from someone that's dressed like Donkey Kong, just to see what the real world reaction would be like. And of course, I think Sarah could handle that. She seemed really cool when we got to sit down with her. Have we sat down with her yet? That's left to be unsaid, but we hope you enjoy this conversation with Sarah Carter. Okay, so pre-show, you said you were in Northwest Montana, which of course is close to where I grew up in British Columbia, Canada, and then of course Alberta, Canada. So my question to you is, had you ventured into the Kootenays, Fernie? Maybe have you made it to the Okanagan? Have you done those ski resorts?
We have not, no. So we have some room to. Well, COVID obviously also compromised the ability to get up there. And with it recently opening, that's our intention. So a beautiful country, though. Beautiful country.
Two things just happened. Michael Cirillo said 8 words that I don't really understand if they're actually words.
Sound very Canadian.
Oh, yes.
The Kootenays.
Yes.
It just sounds like a very Canadian name.
The Bars, right? Well, and then Sarah said they compromised the ability to, and I was like, that just sounded so structured compared to Cirillo being like, right? It was so clutch. That's so much fun. So you're an outdoors family, it seems like, and
great start.
Cirillo
this is a great start.
This is a great start. This is the way that all podcasts everywhere should start, with people bending over in laughter. That's the way that it should be. But so what's kind of like your mode of adventure when you are out and about and in the great Pacific Northwest?
It's a bike, it's a snowboard, it's, hiking. We're definitely an outdoorsy family, and I have 3. Well, actually, I'm the only female, so I have 4 boys, including my significant other, who's amazing, and actually more responsible than I am. So I'm joking.
No, it's not really.
We're a good team. So
are you like stick to the trails, skiers, like, or do you like to venture off into the backcountry?
We do like to venture off into the backcountry now that the kids are getting, older, and they're on the team. So they far outperform us at this point already. So, yeah. And the thing is too, is, with age, things get a little bit harder when you fall or when so right now I'm like, man, maybe I should have gone back to skiing because I skied early on. But that said, I can't imagine anybody I don't want to.
Here we go. It's like the iPhone Android thing, right?
Gotta be careful.
Blue bubbles, green bubbles again. Here we are.
Yep. So, but
Kyle,
we love.
Paul, have either of you, are you skiers, snowboarders?
No, I have skied, but I am not a skier.
I have
been
skied.
Decades.
Same. Yes. There have been skis on my feet, and I have gone down a hill, whether, elegantly or not. So gracefully.
I don't anticipate going in that direction.
Sarah,
like you
I have
said,
a confession.
all I can think of is ACL tears at this point because
I have a confession, and I feel
he's a
I think I know what you're going to say.
He's going to say he's a skier.
No,
it's easy.
No, it gets worse than that. I'm
neither, right?
I grew up 7 minutes from a world-class ski resort, and I've never skied or snowboarded in my life.
Michael, I don't know about this.
You're perfect for it too, Cirillo, because you have a low center of gravity.
Right. The fall isn't that bad. Right.
All right, Sarah. So speaking of low center of gravities, you're in automotive. You're with Upstart Auto Retail, and you have a storied history that didn't connect at all. But we had to get out of Cirillo just being low center of gravity here. I'd love to hear because my relationship with you as a person is basically the last 5 minutes of knowing that you are an outdoors person and that you have a storied history across automotive. Everything from marketing companies to digital retailing technology to even being a part of helping a state association. And I found all that through LinkedIn, but there's gotta be some really cool stories in there. So take us back to kind of those early days in automotive and how kind of things built up from jumping in with a company like Auto Bytel.
Yeah, no, that's I think of that often now, especially because I'm coming up on 20 years. I'm like, man, we've seen a lot of change in our space. And, Auto Bytel, when I came on with Auto Bytel, I was working in the Pacific Northwest, and I actually helped them retention markets all over the Western US at one point working for them. And, it wasn't long before that they were faxing leads, so, obviously lead generation had advanced by the time I got into the space in 2003. But I remember, as a field representative and being young at that, younger at that time, I had a Trio and then I printed my MapQuest. So like when I went into a new market from a retention perspective and was working with some of our partners, I literally had to print maps. I couldn't get them on the phone, and the Trio, you couldn't get a doc to load to look at it. It was like, wow, this is incredible. So, and that kind of branched into internet sales process training. So that was, for quite some time between Auto Bytel and Ismo, I actually, did in-store training, and it was basic, process response times, some of the things that, obviously everyone in the retail environment, values and understands and knows. And it's second nature now, but at that time it was much different. So it's crazy to think how much our industry has changed.
Well, do you think it's second nature now? I mean, really, like if you had to take like a purview of the automotive industry, I know that, Upstart is like a forward thinking brand and has a lot of innovative dealers as a part of the dealer network. But like as a whole, going back, you're like Auto Bytel, faxing and not pulling up documents and printing map prints and then training people on internet processes. Like, have we gotten there, or as an industry, are we still kind of like, still trying to figure out what you were doing in 03, 04, 05?
To some extent, yes and no. I think, obviously the OEMs have put in more mandates in regards to or benefits and rewards to some of the basic aspects of process and response. But I will say, I think in the context of the communications, the consistency of the communications, I would say probably not as much second nature. So good catch. And good call out. There are aspects of
She's an optimist. She's an optimist.
I am absolutely an optimist. So yes and no, but yeah, it's a conversation we still have today. It's something that we do in-store training for all of our partners. And it is something that does, leadership always is aligned with that, but obviously you're training sales team members and so forth, and it is new to them.
What do you think? So I also did a little LinkedIn profile scouring, and I was like, oh, who are the same people we follow, right? So I saw Gary Vaynerchuk in there and Simon Sinek in there.
Yeah.
There's another one that kind of registered with me. I'll think about it in a second. So kind of get a little idea, at least on how you think in some areas and maybe process the world. Thinking about, the specific trajectory that you have in your career and the reach that Upstart has, and honestly, the opportunity to actually leverage further into the industry. What principles do you think are the ones you particularly personally and with Upstart can lead by? So I'm like not going real tactical, but I'm going like a little bit higher strategy. What principles are you bringing to the game?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think, obviously one of the biggest things in life, obviously, you just want to have purpose and you want to be adding value and you want to, really make a difference in our space and our community. And having been a part of this community for years, obviously, and being so grateful to the dealer base, the dealer world, franchise dealers, because I wouldn't be here without any of them.
Likewise, here.
So in that respect, I think, and it's a philosophy of Upstart, and a reason why, I came to Upstart just over a year ago is, it was this drive to always do the right thing. Even when it's hard. And that's actually, that's part of our, mission statement and motto and it's reinforced all the time. And I think that's important because, we need to be transparent. We need to build trust with our partners. We need to add value. It not only gives us purpose, but it gives purpose to everything that we do as a team, as a community, in this space.
Go ahead, Tao.
Well, no. So this word keeps coming up, and it's the word community, and we've started talking about it a lot. But people describe our industry as that are inside the industry more often than I never hear someone be like, the franchise Burger King community. Yeah. It's like, maybe, I don't know, maybe other verticals describe themselves that way, but I think I'm just listening and hearing more people describe our industry as one big community, one big family. And I think that, when you do think like doing the right thing, even when it's hard, providing value, like that's something that communities naturally have embedded in them. I'd love to hear like your perspective on like when you felt that when you started to feel personally that it was this community, that it wasn't just like a career path that you were a part of, but you actually were a part of a bigger thing that you needed to make sure that you were always recognizing and impacting.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, how they say, obviously, like 10,000 hours to really, I think, to become not expert, but, well-versed in understanding the space. So, early in my career, I would have, said, that community environment wasn't there because I don't want to say I wasn't adding value. I think I was adding value, but I also just didn't have the experience or the expertise. And then as I transitioned, I would say probably, I was almost 10 years into it, working for, Showroom Logic, started early on there. That's when I really saw the value and the purpose and the ability that I was able to, through stories of my experiences working with partners and helping them to reach new levels. That's when I started to see it as a community. It's a people business also. And two, over time, that's how you're creating your network. You become, over the years, you're at events together, you're working together side by side remotely. So I think that's where that sense of community has come from, is I think when you become more well-versed in the space and you really can, have purpose, but also be adding value consistently to customers and prospective customers, or just people in the space and our peers. Because in 20 years too, still have a large group that I've either worked with in the past as well on this side, and or cross paths with.
So FTC, there's been a lot of conversation around this lately, and so now
watch out. He pulled a grenade out of his belt. Hang tight.
Hold on. Okay, I want to hold this here.
He's going to slowly roll it across the table to you.
No, I think so. So we talked about this morning in our morning show. And it's going to be a really significant point of focus, because with the rules that are being proposed, you're seeing kind of a lot of consumer response and a lot of YouTube influencers and other people stepping up on behalf of, the so-called consumer advocacy, which can be like very demeaning and very, I don't know, very snarky, etc., which happens to be very offensive to people who know a lot of dealers and people like us who see it as a community, and we know how hard we work to make things better for the consumer day in and day out. What I would just say, what is your response to that? But I kind of know the answer to that question. How do you think that Upstart and the work you're doing there can actually help dealers to change that perception?
Yeah. Well, sorry guys.
Time to go.
I know, right? Turn it off.
Pick up dry cleaning.
I wish it were that easy. No, I'm just I don't even know what's coming next. I probably should look. No,
just a 10-minute warning. Yeah,
right. I'm like, did I prep? So in any case, sorry. Back to the question. I think the thing that among the things that I value working for, a very progressive, innovative organization who's, fairly, decent in size and obviously has the ability to pivot and be agile, is that when our dealer partners are sharing and or prospective partners are in the conversations, and we've got the information and the knowledge base of what's coming and what we need to adapt to, like something like the FTC safeguards and then the updated compliance and regulation, ADA compliance, you name it, is that with that agility, we're able to adapt to what our partners and prospective partners are needing. I was looking for that too. I mean, I think, having been in the business now for almost 20 years and really wanting to provide, state-of-the-art products and solutions that actually are bring value. I absolutely saw that in Upstart, and it's proven to be true. And in fact, if, we talk to, partners, prospective partners, and, or those that we're, innovating with, they see it as well. And obviously take, matters very seriously in regards to a lot of what's coming. And that's why when you said that, Paul, I'm just like, there's been a lot of it lately.
a couple things.
I feel for everyone on this one.
Well, and as a platform that is managing communications, managing transactions, as a platform, Upstart, and especially because you're in the fintech game, right? Yeah. There's like a whole onus on that partner relationship with the dealer that you have to communicate that you're doing and that you're a part of, and you're making sure and protecting the dealer and storing all of this information. I'm sure there's like a heavy lift from a technology partner like yourself, from a development perspective, that has to pay attention to this, because 100%. You're a partner with the dealer and making sure that they're ready for these type of things, right?
Oh, 100%. But, I will say, and that's, I think, the advantage that Upstart has had. And then too, looking at our team, because I don't want to, I need to call out our team. They've done amazing work here, but we are essentially part of the financial world, and we're prior to the acquisition with Prodigy. These were a lot of the policies and procedures and the teams were already there. So, we have a legal team, we have a compliance team. So that was just, so valuable in helping us to be quick on things when we saw these changes. So grateful for that. And they're taking it very seriously, and we have a lot of resources.
It makes me think of Dennis Rodman. Have you guys seen the Last Dance documentary? Like, the dude's crazy. And the documentary highlights that. But one of the things you could argue he was the best rebounder in NBA history because of the sheer amount of preparation that he put into anticipating the rebound. Like, this guy he would just practice for hours, having people throw up balls. He could tell you the trajectory and the velocity of the ball hitting the rim or the backboard, where it would go. And he was always one step ahead. And that's certainly something that's coming to my mind as I'm listening to you speak. Like, we have this team in place. We've got compliancy teams. We're able to position and anticipate where things are headed. And to the point of all of these conversations, I kind of liken that to, well, that's the preparation that's going to help us anticipate where things are going further. So I think that's just, that's something that stands out to me. And it's very comforting to know that there's people with experience navigating this stuff, and that the dealers aren't left to their lonesome.
Oh man.
Yes.
No kidding.
You know, one question I get a lot, and now that we're getting into kind of like, you know, the Upstart product and what you guys are doing from a fintech perspective, one question I get a lot from dealers or marketers or people that are kind of looking in the area. I think a year and a half ago I looked, and there were, at that point, I had a spreadsheet of 34 digital retailing providers, right? That were out there in the space, and it seemed like every week there was a new entrant into the DR space, and that's definitely slowed down as like, you know, the digital push in the pandemic has decreased. There's less new entrants, but even still, there's still over 30 providers working in the showroom retailing and digital retailing space, and so setting yourself apart is similar to like a dealer setting themselves apart from 8 other Nissan dealerships in the area. It's
Right.
you know, creating a unique value proposition is not easy. And, you know, so I'd love to hear from you, just like, not, you know, there's like table stakes in digital retailing. And I think that we've all just kind of come to recognize, like, if someone's not doing this on the website or in the show, then they haven't won. What are those things that set you apart as a partner to dealers in this like customer relationship management, you know, perspective, and how you give dealers the ability to execute on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because yes, it definitely is a competitive space, and we do have a lot of providers out there, valuable providers. That said, I would say, you know, just thinking 3 would obviously be configurations. We have a highly configurable product. I use that because I know, you know, strategies and processes within single points to large dealer groups are going to be very, you know, variant. And there's different philosophy or strategies. So our systems can essentially be very configurable. I would also say integrations, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel on many tools that dealers utilize. So we actually can speak in a push-pull environment, from CRM to valuation tools to acquisition tools, which is something that's very unique in our space. You know, also the lending, I think lending, you know, and the AI machine learning aspect, and how we can help streamline that for our partners and drive efficiency and all of these things are essentially, you know, to help dealers drive efficiency, but the end result is the customer, the guest, right? We want to create a solid consumer experience that buyers want from our space. And that's where we really focus. And one thing I didn't mention, so let's make it 4, would also be the in-store application of what we offer. I mean, it's a full solution to drive efficiency for customers coming in the store or in a virtual environment. So you can do the purchase where the customer wants to, whether it's service in the service department, outside, offsite, you name it. We have the resources, and again, the configurability allows for various adoption formats or processes.
You know, I know that this word integration gets thrown around a lot in our industry. It's like AI and integration, 2 trigger words that make some people squirm and some people celebrate and all that type of stuff. And so I'd love for you to, because you said that you said push pull, and I would love for you to explain a little bit maybe deeper for those that hear the word integration, and some companies use that as like, oh, we integrate with your CRM, and which means they send the lead in ADF to a CRM, right? And then there's like deeper level API integrations that are tying in like rich data and, you know, and multiple different aspects to be able to present someone with a payment. But can you dig into specifically like the push pull integrations that you guys are utilizing to execute some of this transactional data?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the CRM standpoint, what we do, obviously, when a customer comes in, or the first point of contact, and when we capture PII, or when the dealership captures PII, we will push that in ADF XML, because of course we don't know if that customer is already in the CRM. After that, what happens is it attaches in the notes section, and then we're also pulling the customer profile information from the CRM into the iPad and an in-store environment. So it is, when I say push pull, it's essentially we're sending everything into the CRM, and we're essentially eliminating that duplication, so to speak, that we hear so much about. And then, of course, as well, giving the sales team as well as the customer easy access to pick up right where they left off, because all of that is in the CRM, and pulling that back into the system so that they can seamlessly drive that car experience or car purchasing experience.
All right. As the resident least technical person on this podcast, How would you explain that in like a sentence or two for some of the other listeners who probably are still smarter than me?
Yeah. So essentially what we do is we allow our partners to pick up right where the customer left off, because the systems are talking to each other so that they don't have to go into multiple tools to get,
which is really hard to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. And if you can make it feel like it was easy, right? And solve that problem, right? That's why everyone else says, like, why can't you just make it do that? And you're like, well, all the stuff that you just said before I asked that question is why.
I would like to underscore how big of an undertaking this is, because in coming from Canada to the United States, it has been absolutely shocking to me that I've seen people paying for their groceries with checks. Like, I haven't seen a check in 23 years. And because like in Canada, obviously, given our population, all financial systems are connected. Like everything's connected to the Bank of Canada. It is like Apple banking.
They give it all to the government first, and the government gives them back some of it.
And then
right?
the government makes you think you're getting things for free. But like, you know, with chip read, like everything is interconnected. I remember I was talking to our bank when we set up our bank account down here. I'm like, so you guys do the online, like you can pay your bills online and all that. She's like, yeah, of course. What we do is we write a check on your behalf and then send it to the supply. I was like, what? You what? Like,
oh god,
is it the 1870s? What is happening? Whereas in Canada, it's all interconnected. So something as simple as what you're saying, I really want to kind of shine a spotlight on, because it's not only a huge undertaking, especially in the Wild West of America, but the simplicity of being able to give that customer the ability to just pick up where they left off is huge. Can I ask you one question just to forecast a little bit?
This will be the last question, Michael. Make it a good one.
No pressure.
What kind of snowboard do you have? totally like just.
We know you don't care about that.
No, I wouldn't. You could say a name brand, and I'd be like, "Cool. Can I get that at Walmart?" I'm curious about forecasting. Obviously, as we move deeper into the era of giving consumers the ability to purchase online, what's the forecast look like? What are you anticipating the percentage of car shoppers will look like maybe 3, 5, 7, 10 years out, even of like, hey, we believe that this percentage of the market is going to want a fully online transaction that we're going to be able to facilitate?
Yeah, I think we'd be at a much higher rate right now if we, had all the tools and resources that, and there are, we do have partners who do, essentially just that. But it's also letting consumers know or bringing awareness in our world of, the franchise world, the non-Teslas and Carvanas of the world. That said, I think I saw something come out, and I don't know if you guys saw it. It was from cars.com. It was a CNBC short clip. And I believe they said it was almost 21% of car buyers are buying online. And the thing is, with inventory shortages, people are having to go farther. So they are doing those transactions online, going on site or having the vehicle transported. So we're seeing, through COVID and the inventory shortage, consumers are adapting this much faster. And if in fact, we're looking at the 21% are completing deals online, it's doubled in the last year. So at what pace are we going to continue? And obviously the market will continue to drive that, I think, between the inventory shortage and essentially this macro situation. We don't, really know where we're going. I don't say we don't know where we're going, but we have some guesses, I guess, or some
very educated guesses, probably.
Yeah. So I just, I think that will continue to drive it. I think we'll continue to see better and better or stronger and stronger adoption, especially with, younger generations who are like you were talking, Michael. I studied in Germany back in 98, 99, and everything was electronic at that point there. And I came back and we were in this, analog world, and it didn't happen for many years. And it's still, as you're saying, it still doesn't necessarily happen.
Wow.
It's easy to forget. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We know we have a zillion things to do, and we really appreciate the fact that you took a little time out of your day to share with us and the Auto Collabs community on behalf of Kyle Mountsier, Michael Cirillo, and myself. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. Michael, Paul, Kyle, so nice to be here with you.
I've heard this said before, this 10,000 hours thing to become an expert or become a master in your field. And I love that she brought up that it's not just 10,000 hours to become an expert, to become a master, but it almost takes that long to understand the dynamics of the industry that you're in. And I think that we need to take note of that as an industry, recognizing that there are some people that have just come into our industry that we're trying to convince, like, no, this is good, this is great, this is good, but it's going to take time, and it's going to take time not just internally but externally for us to like build up this confidence in the culture and perception of our industry, whether and not just that, but the communication of things like digital retail or the acceptance of these things, that it takes anyone 10,000 hours to get there. So how much do we have to communicate both internally and externally is kind of the question that I'm left after hearing Sarah kind of walk through her journey toward understanding this scope of automotive retail.
I was just shocked, actually, by the fact that, number one, Michael's bank writes checks on his behalf, physical checks on his behalf. But talking about that level of, it's easy in America to think that, like we're very tech advanced because we have all these modern conveniences and we have all this conversation, and entrepreneurship is a main focus of culture, right? It's all over television and YouTube and, Instagram profiles, entrepreneurship. And then to realize that there's all this advancement going on and has been going on in other places, all of a sudden you start to realize why it's still so difficult to connect all of these systems together, because you realize the legacy that we're still operating on in a lot of basic areas, like even check writing, like goes really deep and really wide.
Dude, it goes further than that. When you buy a car in Canada, maybe it's not the same for all providers down here, but when you buy a car in Canada, you are not leaving the dealership without your banking information. It all gets connected into the system. They're like, your first car payment will come out on the 15th of the following month.
Wow.
And away you go.
Like a loan closing.
It's like a loan closing, dude. When we bought our car here, we left the dealership, and my wife and I, it might have been like 3 or 4 days, and we're like,
now what?
We didn't give them any of our banking. How are they going to get the payment? And like a month and a half later, we got an email a letter in the mail from GM Financial being like, here's how you can set up your payments. I'm like, what in the heck is this?
And they didn't even give you a QR code to go to it. You had to type in gmfinancial.com
That's right.
/setup account /activate
I'm telling you guys, it's for me as an outsider coming into this ecosystem, I'm like, it is so archaic. By the way, if your bank has the initials WF and rhymes with Largo, then just so you know, they're writing checks on your behalf too. It's the most archaic thing ever.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Well, we know that companies like Upstart and Sarah are pushing back on the archaic nature of retail, of technology in our industry. Can't wait to see many of you and her at a SoduCon soon. On behalf of Michael Cirillo, Paul J. Daly, and myself, this has been Auto Collabs. We'll see you next time. Welcome to Auto Collabs.